Hi, it's the morning of my surgery. So I thought before I leave, I would just explain a little bit about what I mentioned earlier, um, how we came to this decision, and why it took us a year to decide to proceed. Don't know if I've mentioned or not, but I have got Sjogren's syndrome, which I've had since I was in my early 30s, which is a chronic dry mouth. So I will need to occasionally sip water, which I now have a really cool sippy cup for adults, and I sip through that, which helps me when my mouth dries out, which happens quite regularly. So it was mentioned to me over a year ago that it would be a good idea to start considering getting a peg to supplement my general eating. That was due to my considerable weight loss and me being well and truly malnourished and underweight. And I was determined I would put on weight. So they gave me a couple of goals. One was to get to 45 kilos, the next to 50 kilos. They gave me 9 months and 12 months to reach those goals. I didn't reach either of those goals, despite me eating ridiculously high calorie foods, as well as nutritional foods. To supplement them, I was adding, everyday greens and protein powders and everything else to my diet to try and also keep it healthy. But I was doing everything possible in my power to try and gain weight. It just wasn't happening. But in that time, we tossed a whole lot of factors into it, as in if I'm mainly having tube feeds, how is it going to affect our social life? And without sounding horrible, because it does sound a bit horrible saying it, it has been a big factor for my husband, because he has said a few times, well, it's really going to affect our social life. Now, that makes him sound shallow, and he's not. He's the most selfless man I've ever met. When I met him, I'd only been diagnosed about 6 months earlier, and I don't think he or I really understood the impact of what my condition would have in our future. We both knew the words and the diagnosis and the prognosis, but it's very different than when it actually plays out. So it's played out together, and he's been literally 1 in a million in saying, I'll take this on and I'll ride this journey with you, and I'm here for the long haul. But it's not been an easy journey this far. So it has been something that he said a few times, like, is this too soon? We're not going to have a social life. How is this going to affect me? How is this going to affect us? And that has been something that has been a really big factor for me, not wanting to affect the very small social life we have, because we don't do very much, but not wanting to affect his life as well, but knowing also that I'm really tired, and I want to have more energy, because I sort of feel like I'm just going through the motions of my life. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying it, but I don't get much out of my day. I keep saying I have a 4 to 6 hour day, and that's it as far as energy and enjoyment. After that, I'm really just going through the motions in keeping awake till I go back to bed again. And that's not living. I'm here for my family and my children, but sometimes I'm really just struggling to keep my eyes open, and not yawn and just dying to go to sleep. And I want more out of life than that. That's just silly. Now, I always preface everything I say in saying I know there's people with far worse things off than me. I've done a lot of research, and I don't know if I've said it before or not, but it may sound macabre, but part of me accepting what I've got has been me doing lots of research, seeing lots of people in far worse predicaments than I'm in, and that makes me go, well, you're really not in a bad way at all, Galen. So, buckle up. Don't be concerned about what you've got, because there's children that are in terrible, terrible situations. There's young mothers with little children that, have got bowel cancer and pancreatic cancer that are terminally ill. ALS, it's one of the most horrible diseases, which is one of our most common misdiagnoses, and people are then relieved that they've got what I've got. So I've got to be grateful that I've not got any of these things, and that I hopefully will live a reasonably long life. It may not be the life that I'd ever planned to live, but I will still be around for my children. I'm not going to be the mother or grandmother that I envisaged I'd be, but I can still make my life into something that is reasonable and do something special and be someone special in their lives. So I'm grateful for that. but a big factor was how much it would change our lives. And I'll be honest, I'm going into this today and I really have not got my head around about how meals are going to look once I get home from hospital, because I know I'm having at least 2 feeds a day. I know I can still eat, but I can only really eat very soft foods. So I know my husband does not want to eat lots of casseroles 7 nights a week. He does not want to eat fish 5 nights a week. I can still generally eat fish, and I eat a lot of mashed sweet potato, but that's not his ideal diet. So we're getting by at the moment with me having that a couple of times a week, and he has vegetables, and we sort of get by, and we have obviously carers during the day that prepare the meals, but I haven't worked out post this how it's all going to look. So that we'll stay tuned for that, and I'll let everybody know, because I'm sure that's something that everyone else on a peg is going to encounter as well. How does my significant other deal with this, and how do we feed them when I'm already self-sufficient, but you want them to have a nice meal and quality of life as well? So stay tuned. I'll let you know how we deal with that and what we do. But I am determined that we will still go out socially. And my neurologists, I've got 2 neurologists, both are saying that I will have more energy. So fingers crossed, we'll have a better social life, because instead of me being tired and wanting to be in bed at 7 o'clock every night and looking forward to it, I might actually be able to go out at night time and not have so much fatigue all the time. So the other factor was, who wants a hole in their stomach? My husband had bowel cancer 6 years ago, and he has stoma for a colostomy bag. Now, that's pretty gross, because you got poop coming out of you there. And it wasn't pleasant, and he was very stoic, and he never complained. He did get a bit of rash around it. It was sore, and it wasn't nice. And this is obviously something totally different to that. This is just food going in. I'm not naive. I have probably done too much research into things that can go wrong and whatever. So I'm trying to block that out and go in, as I said, with a positive attitude about not what can go wrong, about everything being okay. But I'm a bit of a girl. I'm an icky girl. The thought of a hole in my stomach, no, doesn't really thrill me at all. The thought of it being there for the rest of my life doesn't thrill me at all. The thought of a cord coming out of my stomach that one of our grandchildren could tug on accidentally and pull out, yank on and cause pain, all of that just, no, not thrilling me at all. But hopefully we'll get the low pro forma one. That's fine. It's something that I know one of my daughters has said, I'm not sure if I can do this, Mum. And I totally respect that, because I know that had it been me with, my mum or grandmother, I probably would have felt the same initially. I'm hoping that she'll be able to deal with it in time. But I understand if she can't. Another big thing was that my whole identity, I was trained to be a chef. I've always been the one that's done amazing, flamboyant dinner parties, like amazing ones. I was known for them. It was part of my identity to do dinner parties. We still do them, not to the way I did do them, but that was me. I was Gayleen who did dinner parties. They were themed down to me having a smoke machine, disco lights on the ceiling, just everything colour coordinated. I'd have young children, when I invited their mothers to barbecues, saying to me, oh, what's the theme going to be, Gayleen? I didn't just have a barbecue. The barbecue would have a theme. Like, people just didn't come to my house. There would be a theme, whether it be a colour or a cuisine or what it was, that was me. So food has been my life, all my life. As long as I can remember, I wanted to be a chef. I trained to be a chef, and then I just ran with it and have been cooking for as long as I can think. So the idea of not eating amazing food and cooking amazing food, that does upset me. I like good food. I like a good steak. I love a really good homemade hamburger.